Today, the trial begins for an Ohio doctor named Dr. William Husel, accused of murdering his patients in the Mount Carmel Hospital by overprescribing painkillers. He was indicted in 14 cases of murder of patients aged 39 up to 82 between the year 2015 and 2018, involving at least 500 micrograms of the powerful fentanyl. Our reporter Christabel Lian is on live at the Franklin County Courthouse. Christabel, what has happened so far in the court today?
Well, Maurice, the prosecution case is still being presented to the jury. Today they started with Dr. Wes Ely from the Medical Center of Vanderbilt University, who is the co-director of Vanderbilt Critical Illness Brain Dysfunction and Survivability Center. He said that he had published hundreds of articles and educated doctors all around the world on how to take patients from life support and the medication that were used to do so. Jenny Grubb, who is the assistant Franklin County prosecutor, also reaffirmed that it was a criminal act. But Dr. Husel and his defense attorney, Jose Barrios, denied that it was a criminal act. Instead, he reaffirmed that the 14 patients were all at the end of their lives, and Dr. Husel just provided compassionate comfort care to prevent any needless suffering. The trial is still ongoing, and we will continue to report this on IBC News. Franklin County Courthouse, Christabel Lian, IBC News.
Thank you, Christabel. Now we are joined by three people here. Mrs. Chris Ellison, who is one of the family members of the deceased, Dr. Figo Villeneuve, who is an Associate Director of Columbia's Bioethics Program, and Mr. Marfel, who is an IBC News legal contributor. Welcome all. Thank you for joining us today. First of all, Mrs. Ellison, I would like to express my deepest condolences. I know this has been a tough time for you, and I really appreciate your time to join us today. Can you explain to us what happened from your perspective?
My husband had diabetes, and one night he asked me to call for an ambulance. After checking his vitals, the medical staff informed me that he needed to be taken to the hospital as a precaution because his blood sugar level was too high. The hospital told me that he suffered from at least 2 heart attacks at the ER and he was taken to the ICU. Then, a few hours later, he was gone.
And what makes you so sure to take this case to the court?
I got a call from the hospital a few months later saying that he had been given an overdose of 1,000 micrograms of fentanyl from Dr. Husel, who was on duty that day. That was where I think something was off, so I decided to take this case to the court.
Thank you, Mrs. Ellison. Now, Dr. Villeneuve, what do you think of this case? Do you think that Dr. Husel may have prescribed too much fentanyl?
Well, I think if you are talking about too much, it depends on the maximum dose. This is how the maximum dose works. There's a ceiling that becomes the maximum border of the medication's dose, and it is different for each person. I may not know individual maximum, but exceeding that ceiling will be dangerous.
Why is it dangerous, and how do we avoid that ceiling?
It has the potential to make you unable to breathe and cause injury. That is why we must avoid it. Rather than risking crossing that border, we need to start from lower doses and work our way up.
Thank you, Dr. Villeneuve. So that was from the medical aspect. But Mr. Marfel, I would like to ask your perspective from the legal aspect as well. We have been hearing reasons for convenience since earlier, but what does the comfort care argument actually entail?
I think there's a difference between palliative care and killing someone intentionally. Palliative care is when medications or other therapeutic methods are used to try to relieve a patient's discomfort. In a case where you actually try to cause the death of a person, that can be murder.
Okay, Dr. Husel has a serious defense attorney, Jose Barrios, and he's not going to make things easy for these prosecutors. Which key evidence do you think the prosecution needs to show to prove their case here?
Well, the key here is intent. By proving that the doctor did not do palliative care, but instead he intended to injure these patients with the drugs. Analysts say we will likely hear from 50 witnesses who will provide information to the court of what they saw or experienced, as well as professionals who will discuss the medication on site. So, if he is found guilty, it will be considered as an act of first-degree murder and Dr. Husel can face prison sentence of 15 years to life on each charge.
Thank you so much, Mr. Marfel. Thank you as well to Dr. Villeneuve and Mrs. Allison. I believe this has not been easy for you, Mrs. Allison. We all hope that the trial process can go smoothly and that the justice can be served. And that's our last news from today's Saturday night newscast on IBC News. I am Maurice Charles Martin. Thank you for the privilege of your time and good night.